I always try to improve the look and feel of my Data Studio reports, and typography is one of the most important parts of making a visually appealing dashboard. Today, it's only possible to choose from 38 fonts in Google Data Studio. We have a limited set of font sizes to choose from, and we can only choose from regular or bold for the font thickness. On the other hand, there are more than 900 font families available on Google Fonts for free. Some of these fonts have more than 18 styles to choose from super thin to extra bold. I always wish that I could use some of these fonts in my Google Data Studio reports. That's why we decided to leverage a fairly new feature of Google Data Studio, Community Visualizations and Components, which is right now in developer preview mode, to create a simple component that allows us to choose any Google font and style it however we want using inline CSS. This is Ahmad from Measureschool. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. Okay, so let's see how it works. First of all, let me tell you about community visualizations. So basically, Data Studio had all of these charts like table, scorecard, time series, bar chart, etc. These are standard charts. But because it wasn't possible for Google to create any possible charts that anyone might have wanted, they introduced the possibility for third parties to create community visualizations and components for Data Studio. So anyone can use any JavaScript library or chart library to create a completely new component with all the styles and settings for Data Studio. These are 4 of them that are featured: the Gauge by Data Studio, Radar Chart by Click Inside, Gantt Chart by Supermetrics, and Sunburst by R42 Communications. Now, because we saw this limitation of not being able to choose any fonts that we wanted for a normal text component in Data Studio, we decided to use this feature, the community visualizations, to create a small utility component that allows placing Google fonts, any Google font, as a text component in Data Studio. First, let me show you the limitations of the normal text component, and then we see how we can add the new component to our report. So for a normal text component, what we can do is that we can change the font size to any of these preset sizes available in this drop-down menu, and then we can choose the font, which we are limited to 38 fonts. And as you can see, most of them are pretty standard. I mean, it starts with Arial and some of the fonts found in older systems like Comic Sans, etc. There is no way right now that you can bring your own font into Data Studio. Now let's take a look at the component. To add the component, you need to click on this small icon here and then click on Explore More. It is not right now available as a featured component in the partner visualizations. It has to go through the review process by Google before it can be added here. But right now, what you can do is that you can click on Build Your Own Visualization and then scroll down, and here type gs/siavak-visualizations/gallery and click Submit. Once you do that, you can select this component and add it to your report. Let's place it on the report. Now, the first thing you see will likely be an error message that says Community Visualizations Disabled. To fix that, you need to go under the Data Properties tab and edit your data source. And here, you need to click and enable the usage of Community Visualizations. That's because usually Community Visualizations gets data from a data source and then visualize that data. But in this case, this component does not do anything with the data from the data source. But still, Community Visualizations option should be enabled for it. Now, as we can see, a non-standard Google font has been added to this report. Let's see how we can change it and what options do we have to style it. I'm going to move on to the Style tab, and here are all the options of this component. The content of the text, which we can change here. I'm going to change it to no more limits. And next, with these 2 options, we have the possibility to select our own custom Google font. For now, there is no drop-down menu, so we have to actually go to Google Font and manually choose the font that we like. let me head over to Google Fonts, and that's where you need to go. And here you can search for any kind of font that you like. You can browse the list of the fonts. For example, let's sort it by trending. These are the trending fonts. You can also filter based on the categories of fonts: serif font, sans serif font, display fonts, or handwriting fonts if you like. Or even better, what we are excited about, you can choose based on language. So if you use a non-English language and you want to choose the specific fonts designed for your own language, then you can choose the font here. So for example, you can have Japanese fonts here, you can have Chinese fonts here. And right now, these fonts basically are not at all available in Data Studio. Other than these, you can choose the font properties. So for example, I just want to look at the fonts that have more than 5 styles, and I'm going to choose a font that is a bit thicker than the rest. So let's see, what do we have here? Let's use this one, Hebo. It is not available as a standard Data Studio font, so we're going to use that for the purpose of this demo. When you click on the font, you can see all the styles listed at the bottom, and you can select the style that you want by clicking on this button. Once you do that, you have to head over to the Embed tab and grab the URL of the style of the font that is found in the href attribute without the quotation mark. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, and I'm going to head over to Data Studio, and here we need to remove this and paste the style URL of the font. But we're not finished. Before it starts to render the font, we have to actually put the name of the font, as we can see above, exactly like that here, and then the component can recognize the font and render it on the canvas. Once you added your text and set the font, it's time to style it. You can write any inline CSS command that you want here to style your text. You can change the color, you can change the font size, transparency, text alignment, line height, padding, or even you can apply a shadow. But right now, let's start with something simple. I'd like to change the font size to, let's say, 48. Resize the component, and then change the text alignment to left. This was simple, but if you know CSS, you get the point. You can do anything you want. The sky is the limit. For example, let me grab some CSS and first of all put it here for you to see. This is the CSS, for example. It's a bit complex, but it's not the point. We are using it to change the style of this one. Let me copy it again and paste it as the style of this text. And let's see what happens. It's a 3D effect, isn't it? Let's see how it looks. 3D effect, shadows, and everything. You can view it, and it actually renders on your report. I'm not suggesting that it's a good idea to have 3D effects and text in your Data Studio reports, but I just wanted to demonstrate the possibilities that are at your fingertips with a custom font and inline CSS. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to Measureschool, make sure to subscribe so you can get the future videos that we publish. And if you want to learn more about Data Studio, I have more tutorials on YouTube that you can look up and watch. This is Ahmed. See you in the next video.